This is our ultra high mileage Model S and it's done 430,000 miles. That's like climbing up and down Mount Everest 40,000 times. That's like traveling from London to Australia and back 22 times. It's traveled a long way, but how far can it travel on one charge? Time for a range test. We're gonna do a range test, a health check, performance test. We're gonna find out exactly what makes this car tick.
Original battery, original motors.
So this has had a couple of repairs.
We've got ourselves a set of cones and a stopwatch. Literally nothing's happening. I get the feeling it's not gonna charge. We're not quite going to the moon today, but we are heading from Richmond in North Yorkshire to our test centre in central Bedfordshire, a distance of exactly 200 miles. Most of it will be done on the motorway, and we're aiming to end up at our base where we can do further testing with this ancient electric vehicle to see how well or how badly it's aged. And it makes perfect sense to kick things off by seeing how far you can go on a single charge of its old battery. Okay, so I've reset the trip. I've programmed in the sat-nav for our secret test facility down south, and we are on the move. I've chosen the motorway because I think it's important when you're talking about range to talk about motorway range. That's the thing people really focus on when they're doing long distances. Can my car get me from A to B? The problem is, electric cars don't really like motorways. What they like is A and B roads, driving at relatively low speeds, doing brake regeneration. What they don't like is sitting at 70 miles an hour for extended periods, but that's what I'm gonna do. And guess what? I'm not even gonna hesitate to use my heating if I want to. If I wanna use the third lane, the overtaking lane, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna drive like a normal human being to give us the real deal range in this old school high mileage Tesla. First impressions, what is it actually like? Does it feel like a car that's done nearly 500,000 miles? In some ways, yes. The first thing that I notice is the steering, which has a lot of play around the center. You can move it quite a lot and the wheels don't actually turn. I don't know if that's this specific car or whether that's a Tesla thing from back in 2016. I suspect that this one's old, so it does feel like that. But also the seats, ergonomically not the best. Mine's kind of angled slightly that way and also that way, so my body's kind of contorted in a strange way. Again, not sure if that's because the car's been around the world a couple times or if that's how it came out the factory. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. Apart from that, there's a few squeaks and rattles. You can hear my seat, there's some rattling from the dashboard. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but the problem is because it's such a quiet car, all of that rattling is kind of amplified. But I still think it's quite forgivable because this car's from 2016. So yeah, all in all, it feels fine. With that being said, I wondered whether I should give it the benefit of the doubt about actually making it all the way to my destination. Not in terms of the battery range, but mechanically, would the car actually last the distance? But after some consideration, I came to a little revelation. The one thing I will say is that I trust this more than I would trust an equivalent ICE vehicle with a ton of miles on the clock. Reason being, if I'm in an ICE car that's done nearly 500,000 miles, I'd be constantly listening for things going wrong in the engine. The sound of a pump failing or a fan belt about to pop or something, a head gasket about to go. But in an EV, it just sounds like an EV. So you're never ever worried that it's suddenly gonna conk out. Hadn't thought of that, but that's quite a big thing. So quick update, we've been driving for 1 hour and 8 minutes. We've done 64 miles and the dashboard is reading 146 miles. So actually the car is so far being really accurate in terms of the amount of energy we're using. It's currently saying that we've used 285 watt hours per mile. Tesla don't do miles per kilowatt hour, which is the figure that I understand in my head. But that actually translates to 3.5 roughly miles per kilowatt hour. So it's actually being a lot more efficient than I thought it would be. This is good. All was going well then. I didn't need a recharge stop, but I did start to wonder how much it might actually cost to fill the battery if I did. Motorway recharging points are notoriously pricey, but one of the beauties of this OG Tesla is that charging it from a Tesla supercharger is absolutely free for life. The chap that owns this car, Paul, he's a taxi driver, this is the taxi, said to me that he charges his customers around £240 to go from his base in Chesterfield to London Heathrow. A lot of his rivals in Mercedes S-Classes, for example, will charge nearly £500 to do the same trip. So he's able to pass on those savings to his customers. And the reason he can do that is because he's getting free supercharging for life with this car. So not only is he benefiting the environment, he's also benefiting his customers massively. An electric Tesla might seem like one of the worst possible choices for an electric taxi, but actually, it's one of the best. Another thing people complain about with EVs is the availability of chargers at charging stations. So with that in mind, I began heading to a supercharger that I knew not to charge, but to have a look at how busy they were for research purposes before I continued my journey. This is one thing that has just popped into my mind. EV skeptics often think of electric cars as being slightly disposable. In other words, they're good for 50,000, 100,000 miles, and then after that you basically scrap them, and then you got to buy a new electric car with a new battery that you've got to have mined out of the ground, etc. But this high mileage EV illustrates the point perfectly that EVs don't have to be disposable. So I was well into the test and things had been going okay, but that early efficiency I was getting began to take a slight turn for the worse. It started to rain and the temperature dropped slightly, but it was around this point that the car seemed to become far more conservative about its range estimates, perhaps estimating down from the driving style of the previous owner to the type of driving I'd been doing for the last couple of hours. Whatever was happening, things weren't looking quite as rosy as before. And I think we can probably put some of that down to the fact that I was now having to use the aircon, which uses extra energy to stop the windows steaming up. Alright, so I was talking about superchargers earlier. Well, I had one programmed into the sat-nav, not because I needed one, but because I wanted to go to one to see whether there was a massive queue, because that's something people often complain about. But I've just had a look at the range and we are no longer on track to make it. The weather's changed, it's got a bit cooler, and I'm not sure we're gonna make it to our final destination. So it looks as if we're gonna have to go to that supercharger and actually use it. But it doesn't matter, whatever range the car gets is what I'm gonna tell you guys, and it shouldn't be an issue because that supercharger is pretty much spot on in terms of the range the car is showing. So good to go. Just stopping because it's a precaution. Okay, so the charger's down here. It's actually not looking too bad because it says I've got 1 mile left and the charger is probably less than half a mile away. So what I'm expecting is that in these cars, when it gets to 0 miles, you have probably a 10-mile buffer or something. That's a similar situation to what happened in the Nissan Leaf that I tested a while ago. So not entirely worried right now. I'm actually flooring it, and it's not going much faster than 25 miles an hour. That's hilarious. But yeah, all good. 1 mile remaining, and the chargers, I can see them right now, just up there on the left. Maybe it's not looking so good because it's actually saying to me now I should stop immediately. Oh my, it's actually looking a lot tighter than I expected. Ooh. Okay, no, we are right next to the chargers though, so stop immediately. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's fine, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't do this, don't do this. Literally right there. Literally right there. There's a bunch of Teslas at the supercharger. But then it happened. Okay, okay, okay. No, 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 no! Oh my, it's dead. It says it's got 1 mile left, but it's not. Nothing is happening. The wipers are going, but literally the car's dead. Can I push it? Oh no. It says I've got a mile of range remaining and it won't go into reverse, it won't go into drive. Literally nothing's happening. Like the boot opens, so there's some power in it, but... Oh, I'm so mad. I am so mad at this car. It says I've got 1 mile, it says I've got 1 mile of range remaining and the car is literally, nothing is moving. I've got to push it somehow. Yeah, that's definitely not in neutral. Oh God. No, that's not moving. Yep, I was well and truly stuck. And the only logical step was to turn to the internet to figure out a way to get the car into neutral. With my efforts failing, how do you get a Tesla into neutral? A fellow Tesla driver came to my rescue, explaining how to get the car into tow mode. From there, we were able to work as a team to get the car moving. And soon, others joined in, and we pushed it into an empty space. Well, sort of. Another push. You just did the worst reversing ever, is it? Service. So I had another go at reversing into the space, again with the help of my new Tesla gang. And my next task was to figure out why the adapter wouldn't go into the charge port. Right, I've never used one of these before, but will it work? After a bit of fiddling, it turned out there was a foreign object trapped inside the adapter. There's something stopping it from going in. I made it work. Oh yes, cool. Okay. All right, so that's in. And all I had to do now was cross my fingers. And that's in. Charge, please.
I heard so.
It clicked.
I heard it click.
Is it charging?
Yeah, it's charging.
Oh, get in. Tesla community comes together to save the day. I was proper nervous there, honestly. I was so angry that the car was showing 1 mile left and that it just went, nope, you're going no further. And I genuinely thought I was in trouble. You just feel my heart. All right, let's see how far we actually went in the end. What's it got? Okay, so it got 186.8 miles on a single charge. And that's interesting because halfway through the journey, it said it was gonna get around 209 miles. We'd done 109 and there was 100 remaining, but then the weather changed, it got a bit colder, it started to rain, and that seemed to affect the battery a little bit. So we lost a significant chunk of range based on what I think is down to the weather affecting the battery. Or, more accurately, the fact I had to rely more on the air conditioning than previously. Another big factor was that the car may have been estimating my range based on the previous driver's driving habits, and it might have taken some time for it to recalibrate based on my own speed and way of driving. A decent amount, I think, 186 miles. I thought it would go further, and I was luckily gonna pull in here just to show you guys the supercharger network anyway on my way to the destination. And as it turned out, we really needed the supercharger. So yeah, we've made it, and no big dramas. Tune in next time to find out what we do with our high mileage Tesla Model S in this amazing series we've got planned for you. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you again soon. I'm going for a lie down. Let's keep the foot buried and see what it does to the quarter mile. Woo! Can it go around corners? Let's see how this feels in comparison. And we're gonna see which one charges in the least amount of time. This is proper consumer testing.